we move from this fascinating exclusive tete-a-tete now to the next session, do note that's another one that will give you enough food for thought. Making the ride smoother for international food brands that are headed for India. I think there's no doubt that the Indian market remains extremely vibrant, attractive, and lucrative for anyone who wants to come and potentially look at an expansion of their product portfolio. In that quest, the millennial population, the demographic dividend, they matter a whole lot to them, which is perhaps why most brands are headed towards India. The rising disposable incomes, they've created an upsurge in the demand for international food, imported items, and this desire to have a massive choice on retail shelves. That story, where is it headed? What are the challenges, and what will be coming up next? The appetite for new, different opportunities clearly looms large. And I think in that quest, the next panel, led by the moderator who knows it all, Amit Lohani, founder and director of FIFI and MD Max Foods. I'd like you to come on stage as I invite the rest of your panelists to take charge of understanding the opportunity lying ahead for foreign foods. Adam Branson, Senior Agriculture Attaché at US Embassy. Adam, please come on stage. We've got Amadeus Scarpa, Trade Commissioner at the Embassy of Italy. Puneet Gupta of LComp's Impex. We've also got Rakesh Banga, Partner, Farmland Premium Foods, LLP Director, FIFI as well. Sudhanshu Mathur, BMS, and Sanjay Bajoria, Bajoria Foods. Amit, the mic is yours in this stage too.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Amit Lohani. I represent the Forum of Indian Food Importers. It's an apex body which represents food importers from all across India. We have 140 members which are spread all across India. We work with various embassies, trade commissions, Food Safety Authority, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Agriculture. And what we try to do is try to bridge the gap between international exporters and domestic players. So whether it is retail, whether it is HoReCa, we try to work with all of them. We take and use the facilities of a platform like Images, which is one of the most unique platforms in the country, where it's more about knowledge than about, the regular sales and B2C and B2B. And I remember Mr. Amitabh Taneja tell me one time that in my show, that one major, advantage is that if you turn left or if you turn right, there is one of the other persons that you always wanted to meet, and he's just next to you. So that's the advantage of the Food Forum platform. Let me talk about the appetite for international food. We've seen tremendous growth in international food in India. We've seen products which were traditionally not staple to us, from a product like pasta, which started in 2001, 2002, where it was a niche product considered a delicacy, or for that matter, a gourmet food product. And now it's become a staple food for everyone. Mothers are cooking it at home for their children. Husbands are taking it to their offices. Local companies have started manufacturing it. ITC does it. And we have a lot of international companies also who are trying to do joint ventures in India, try to produce the same products with the same quality, the same drum wheat from Italy, and produce the high quality pasta in India. If you look at the examples of apples, I remember people used to laugh at apple importers in 2004, that are you crazy? Who's going to buy an apple for $3 a kilo in India? And today we sell about 5 million boxes of apples in India. India is the third largest, as far as the last information that I have, of importers, third largest importers of apples from Washington. So, what we see is a huge transformation. And also the fact that what was earlier a trend for only metropolitan cities or tier 1 cities has now transcended into tier 2 and tier 3 cities also. So if you go to a smaller town like Indore or Bhopal, or even a smaller town in Jaipur, Udaipur, you'll find international gourmet food having its own shelf space, having its own space in the retail arena, and especially in the hotels. So, you'll have pasta everywhere, you have an jalapeno, you have a pizza. So that is something which has picked up. Olive oil, canola oil, you name the categories which have grown tremendously in the last 5 years. Olive oil has been growing at almost 50% year on year for the last 3 years. And what we project is in the next 5 years also, olive oil is going to grow anywhere between 50 to 75%. The health food segment has tremendous potential in India. The confectionery, the snacks category is something that we are looking at, and we see huge potential for these products. And the importing community is all forward to bring these international products and take it to the next phase of evolution, where we produce these products in India, go with the dream of Mr. Modi of Make in India. So produce these products and make India an international hub for promotion and promoting international food produced in India and then supplying it to the neighboring countries. To start with, I would want to start with Dr. Scarpa. He's the Italian Trade Commissioner, and his view on how Italian food has seen in the last 10 years the growth story of Italian food, and how pasta, olive oil, olives, which were considered niche class products, now transformed into that mass market. Dr. Scarpa, please.
Grazie. Thank you, Amit. Buongiorno. Namaste, everybody. Italian Trade Commissioner in New Delhi. Amedeo Scarpa. Here with me also my colleague from Mumbai office, Dr. Mariani. I would like to thank the India Food Forum and the FIFI Association, which are our friends and partners in this business in India since decades, as Amit said. Since decades, yes, because Italy also in this sector represents still a best practice, even a first and a best practice, even in this market. So that's why Italy is here now to try to discuss together, to debate together, not to show you the data about the Italian export to India, no sense. But to discuss together which are the new frontiers for our business, as Amit said, trying to reaching also the booming city, the booming states, not only the metro area that are already there, and how, which are the next frontier products. And on the other side, to evaluate the challenges and the obstacles still for this growing in such a specific market. So from our point of view, yes, sure. I can confirm what Amit said, that Italy first reached here with its well-known all over the world pasta, and still we are the first exporter of pasta in India, and not only to Mumbai and to Delhi and to the metro city. We still are the second exporter of wine and spirits, besides the high tariffs, custom tariff, and the third exporters here of olive oil. But the margin for the Indian market are much more higher than the reality is now. Consider that this sector, even in Italy, even in Europe, over the last 3 years, and you know how deep is still the crisis in the Europe zone, this market anyway was in, we say, controtendenza, counter the tendencies. That means the turnover in Italy reached 132 billion euro, increasing 1.5% 2013 compared to the year before, and the export increased 6%. But still, India, for example, is not one of the first or in the first 10 importing market from Italy. Not because I'm making here just a speech from my point of view. I mean, like Trade Commission, I want to promote, of course, the Italian products and the business of the people that help the Italian products to be in this market. But because I want to understand, together with you today, possibly also, how we can do it better. Loani also introduced another team, and then I leave the floor to the next speaker. Make in India, it's an opportunity or it's a challenge? It's an obstacle. Make in India could mean maybe also protectionism again. Everything can be made in India. Do you really think that Boggi or Bottega Veneta accessories, leather accessories, or fashion dress, or acqua minerale, mineral water San Pellegrino from the Alps that are in Italy and the north of Italy can be produced in India? Probably not. So, but it is just an introduction to the obstacles that maybe we are going to face in a general way. I mean, talking about the politics. And yes, talking about new frontiers, for sure, Italy has its own unique heritage of gourmet specialities. We do have 20 regions, and each region has an average of 5 to 10, 5 to 6, 7 province multiply, and then you can discover maybe how many cuisines, how many gourmets we have in Italy. And still in India, I didn't see such a large diversified offer. But when you talk about specialities, food specialities, gourmet, if this is the new frontier, at least for the metro, and then we go with the pasta and with the other one, with the mass products to the boomtown and so on. If you talk about gourmet, if you talk about specialities, you talk about something specific to a region, to a city sometimes, to a heritage, with specific also characteristics that are there. And you, importing country or country that wants to open your market to the world, you have to consider this also in your rule. So since now my will is that India can continue to be more and more open and more coherent in terms of rules and labeling and safety rules and so on with the WTO rules.
Thank you, Dr. Scarpa, and I agree with him that when you talk about the fact that Make in India doesn't mean that we are going to bring the Alps down over here or we are going to bring the country of Greece over here to produce feta cheese, because there are certain products which are DOP, which have regional certifications required, which cannot be produced in India. But what I think Mr. Modi means is products which can be produced in India can make India an exporting hub, like the automotive industry. Like a lot of food products like pasta is being produced in India. So there are potential for certain categories, but not for the entire product portfolio. So you can't have Californian wines being produced in India. So you'll have to have the Californian wines and the French wines. They'll always have a space in the Indian food arena. But yes, whatever can be produced from Nagpur or from the regions from Maharashtra, those grapes can be used to make wines, and India is getting better in wines. And I always say that when India starts producing something, automatically the size of the market grows, the size of the consumer base grows, which is required for that. I would want to shift to Mr. Branson from the US Embassy, and what is his perspective on American foods which are coming to India? How does he see the growth which he's seen of products like prunes, pecans, walnuts, almonds? What I know is about $400 million worth of almonds are coming into India, and most people didn't even know that the almonds that they're eating are from California. So these are things which are changing the entire food arena. So I would want Adam Branson to talk about it.
First of all, thank you, Amit. Thank you, Dr. Scarpa, as well, for leading the conversation. And thank you all to the members of FIFI and those from Insight for allowing us to participate in the panel today. Representing the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I think it's very safe to say that we're very optimistic about the market here in India. We've had agricultural officials from U.S. Department of Agriculture here since the 1930s. It's been a long-term commitment for us to the market, and we're going to continue to be here in the Indian market. Over the last year, by value, I think we've seen about 20% growth in U.S. agricultural exports, ranging from everything from almonds to wines and the whole entire alphabet in between. Growth areas, I think, for us have especially been in the consumer-oriented arena. Many thanks to the members of FIFI for being such good customers, and to the people of India for being good customers of American products. There's a value, I think, that we offer, that imported products offer, that Indian consumers want, Indian consumers demand. Food professionals want to use the convenience of these ingredients in their kitchens. Whether it be walnuts for the bakery sector, for people making Diwali gifts, or almonds. The $400 million, I think, is very an exact figure this last year, that are even in tins and cans that are sent throughout the country. These second-tier markets, these cities that most Americans have never heard of before. I guess to really look at the growth potential for U.S. products, we see great growth in our dried products, dried nuts, tree nuts, fresh fruits. Apples has been a big success story for us from the United States from once they started originally being sent from the United States to India. We're looking at probably $70 million worth of apples. Apples being probably India being the third largest market for U.S. apples. Almonds, it's probably about the fifth largest market for U.S. almonds. And things are continuing to grow. In some instances, we hear that brokers and importers are looking for new products because as some of these things become more of a commodity, the margins get smaller and people want to innovate, bringing in berries, bringing in unique products that they think that their distribution channels can manage. But it is a challenge. I mean, one of the things that we do when we are trying to open up new markets is to address these non-tariff barriers and to make sure that we're pushing international guidelines. We heard from Amul just a moment ago the mention of the term codex. It's a very big issue for us, and it's one that we're working with the Indian authorities from FSSAI to the Ministry of Agriculture, Commerce, Metrology to really, we think will open the playing field, make it a transparent playing field for all products, both for third country suppliers and domestic companies here in India that are manufacturing products to help them become more competitive later on in the international arena. It's growth for us, I think, in the U.S. is going to continue to move into more packaged and processed products, sauces, cereals, flavorings, and as the retail channels get better and more, more organized, a much more organized sector, as the HoReCa sector gets better integrated and more organized, there's going to be a lot more demand for imported consumer-oriented products from around the world. And then eventually it's going to be export-led growth. It's going to be growth that comes in originally from imports, and as those demands, as those volumes from the 1.25 billion Indian consumers grow, then it's going to be companies deciding to make business and corporate decisions to put up plants, put up their own factories that will allow them to manufacture in India, to make in India. But it's going to take time, and until then, we'd like to see exports from the U.S. and other countries continue to move in, as they'll help build an infrastructure, they'll build the cold chain, they'll help raise prices for domestic products as well. I think apples is a big success story for us. Who would have thought that people would be paying so much for apples from the U.S. or Chile or China or even New Zealand? But now Indian apple prices have also grown over the years, and it's made it a much better environment for Indian producers as well. So I think we can all benefit from a more open and transparent and predictable playing field.
Thanks, Adam. To take it from the Apple story, what I have seen in the past 10 years is the way the packaging has changed for Indian apples, and the way Indian apple manufacturers have understood the fact that just by applying a proper sticker on the product to do the proper grading of a product, you can get much more value than what they were doing with the earlier boxes. So, corrugated boxes are in huge demand. And also the fact that certain apples in India, especially from the region of Shimla, Kinnaur, sell at a more premium than the Australian, New Zealand, and the American apple. So that's the way the Indian apple industry has transformed. And the apple growers have made a lot of money in the last 10 years because they're getting much better value for their produce, because the consumers are willing to pay that price for their good and high quality products. From the Make in India example which we were discussing, and the fact that there would be certain restrictions in producing everything in India, I have a classic example where one of our members is also producing Italian cheeses in India. I want to understand how, from Mr. Puneet Gupta from Elcoms, his brand name is Impero, and how did he think of producing Italian cheeses in India? How does he maintain the consistency of the product? What are some of the small challenges that he faces in terms of product availability, ingredients, especially milk, with the right amount of fat and the consistency in the value of milk? Mr. Puneet.
Hello. Thank you, Amit. I welcome everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have a brand called Impero, which we started. We conceived this thing of producing Italian fresh cheeses in India about 5 years back. It was a per chance, and it is quite a funny story. My present partner saw some buffaloes on the road when they had come to attend a marriage for one of their friend in India in Jaipur. And that set up the idea that seeing the buffaloes on the road, that they could basically, there would be buffalo milk available in India. And that basic thing got the entire idea of forming the brand Impero and forming the company Exito Gourmet. Yes, definitely there have been a lot of challenges in the last 5 years when we started producing the cheese, including the quality of the milk that we needed to produce the fresh cheese, when we started to get the capital to formulate the other thing, to set up the plant, to conceive the idea, to get the right amount of technology that was needed, and then to compete with the bigger players. There are some big players like Amul. So we obviously focused on the niche market, on the high-end Italian mozzarella and the bocconcinis and everything. So it has been a slow progress in the last 5 years, but now we have reached a break-even point already. So that is, I think, quite good in the last four and a half years. And we are now producing about 22 odd varieties of cheese, including cheddar, Edam, Gouda, bocconcini, fresh mozzarella. So, and I think what is happening over the period, and what we all see, and especially us, is that the growth in the market in the cheese and the demand is increasing as well. That is helping us in doing what we are. And as the more and more tourists come in, as more and more people are trying to try the Italian cuisine and the different cuisines, and the outlets like a Hard Rock Cafe or a Chili or all these American Italian chains are opening, that is helping a lot. So I basically think that the way forward would be a mixture of make in India, a mixture of having products which are being imported, right? And there would be companies which, when the demand for a particular thing increases quite a bit, then obviously the way forward would be to formulate and make it in India. And till then, it has to be an imported way where you test the market, you try to grow the market, try to see what really sells in the market. I think that would be the way forward in the coming time.
Absolutely agree with Puneet's point of view, and you have to see that the demand for Italian cheeses has grown exponentially in the Indian market. We used to just consume fresh cheeses which were there. Our cottage cheese industry is very strong, but what they used to produce was a single variety of cheese which was considered cottage cheese or paneer, which is somewhat like a premium food, the protein substitute for vegetarians. But what I would also want to bring in is the fact that, you know, we've gone from consuming a lot of international food earlier for the health reasons, because health aspects and the health category, there was a free culture, the fat-free products, the cholesterol-free, and when you go to a cardiologist or you go for a regular health checkup, the doctors, I've started recommending using olive oil, from which I want to ask Mr. Sanjay Bajoria from Bajoria Foods, is how did he think about tying up with one of the largest producers of olive oil, and what was the thought process behind that tie-up, and also the fact, what are the measures that he uses to promote Italian olive oil in India, and in terms of using olive oil in our daily cuisine? Mr. Sanjay.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Sanjay Bajoria. As we all have been discussing that international food in India has seen a major change on year-on-year basis. The consumption level, the requirement of people, it has changed. Oil is one category which has seen a major change in the Indian kitchen, or I would say that Indian kitchen has experimented with edible oil the maximum. We used to fry with mustard oil. Mustard oil used to be the main oil for any Indian kitchen, say around 15 or 20 or 30 years back. Then we shifted to sunflower oil and palm oil. So Indian kitchen has seen a lot of oils coming to the kitchen. Like, you know, the Indian housewife always prefer to change oil. And the consumption of oil in the Indian kitchen is very high. But since last few years, health has been the main focus of any Indian housewife, for her family, for her kids. And this is where olive oil has played a major role. Olive oil brought to the Indian kitchen that cook healthy, fry healthy. So olive oil definitely is an oil which is very healthier. It has some very good MUFA benefits, what we call. I don't want to go into the technical things, but definitely olive oil as a oil category is one of the most healthiest edible oil in the world. And but again, there is a myth that when we started olive oil in India, the import of olive oil, not Bajoria foods, it was mostly extra virgin olive oil. And that was initially imported to India, which was not fit for Indian cooking, especially frying and cooking, deep frying cooking. Then the manufacturers started manufacturing olive oil, mixing with other same olive oil, but making it more Indian user friendly. And this is where the change has come. This is where the growth you have seen in last 10 years or 5 years, that olive oil, which is fit for Indian cooking, has started dominating the market, and which has played a major role to change the complete consumption of olive oil in India. Extra virgin is definitely one of the best olive oils, no doubt about it. But there are other pure and other lighter version of it, which is fit for frying. And I think that the Indian housewife is very happy using olive oils, and the consumption of olive oil has been increasing. As Amit said, it's around 30 to 40% or even more higher year-on-year basis. As an olive oil importer, we feel that we need to educate our consumer also about the uses of olive oil and the kind of olive oil, because there are some oils which are actually olive oil but not that healthier in comparison to extra virgin or other olive oils. So we as importers or manufacturers should educate people the type of oil they should use for cooking, so that we do not misguide them. That is a very important thing. And Olive Oil Association, along with the Olivita and other Spanish association, have been doing a fantastic job. You can see the ads in TV, radios, newspapers, explaining them that how olive oil should be used. So I think the Indian market is really ready for a healthier oil, and there are other healthier oils coming also, and Indian consumers are looking for healthier options in future. We as importers look at importing good food. We believe that food should be good, and as today the mission of our Prime Minister and the government is Atithi Deva Bhava. Like we welcome foreign visitors coming to India. So when they come to India, we need to give them food what they love to eat. So we importers as a community make sure that when foreigners come to India, they get the wide range of international food category available, so they don't feel that they are not at home, you know. So that is one of our main mission, we can say that. Thank you.
I agree with that, and I also want to bring out the fact that it is not just the international community that we target, because what we see is there's a huge potential with the domestic consumption. And the idea of import has to be for the domestic people. You have to give healthier options to the domestic audience. You have to teach them and educate them that, you know, the myth that olive oil changes the taste of food, which was there earlier, it doesn't change the taste of food. So you can make a paratha, a healthy paratha with olive oil. So there's no harm in using olive oil for a healthy paratha. And
we fried jalebis yesterday.
So yeah, so if you can make jalebis out of olive oil, I'll give you a small example. There is a tikki wala in Delhi, which is known as Bittu Tikki wala. And he used to use desi ghee to make tikkis, and he's one of the most popular tikki walas in Delhi. Recently, he started promoting olive oil, and he puts up a brand name and saying that I produce a healthier version of that tikki, which is made with olive oil. The tikki is fried in olive oil. And people are willing to pay a premium for that product because they believe even if a tikki is not that healthy, but if it is fried in an olive oil, the chances of it being more healthy is something that is tremendously working in our favor. Yeah.
No, I also absolutely agree with the necessity to continue this educational program with advertisement or whatever. I mean, cooking or eating or garnishing or dressing the salads with extra virgin olive oil is not like putting the olive for massage on it, for example. And yes, and India, I think from my point of view, my observation, I mean, point of view, I think it's more than ready for this, to understand this and to go more and more straight to the right products. But if I may open the discussion again, since we touched this point. If this is the point, why recently the tariffs, again, the custom tariffs on olive oils, extra virgin olive oil, excuse me, increased? Of course, it's not to you the question. I mean, I don't see any olive trees in Italy, in India, of course. I mean, I don't think there is a local production to protect or to increase. Until, I don't know, Amit, correct me please, a couple of years ago or some years ago, it was 0% the custom tariffs on the import of extra virgin olive oil. Last year was 2.5%, and now from 20 days ago, 7.5%. Why? To protect what?
Can I answer this?
Please, please.
Okay. See, this is the biggest dilemma with our system. We do not, the ministry or anyone involved, do not subcategorize categories. They do not, they take it everything in face value. Okay, oil, everything is oil. They do not, they need to subcategorize. If it is baby food, they do not subcategorize. That's formula, milk formula, and other products. For them, everything is baby food means everything is baby food. So everything has to go through a particular thing. Same thing applies to oil. We have given representation to the government that why olive oil? India does not produce olive oil. We only repack olive oil. It does not hit any industry in India. So why these tariff barriers? Why the tariff has been increased? The thing is that the person dealing or the ministry dealing with it, they say it comes under oil. It's a category as a very broader sense, you can say that.
No, absolutely, I agree with that. And we have given a representation to the Ministry of Commerce to roll back this duty hike on extra virgin olive oil as the category of oil, the duties have increased, which is not, you know, it's a healthier version of oil. It is bringing a lot of potential in the market. There are only about a few companies which are locally packaging it, but most of the olive oil which is coming in from the Mediterranean region is packed over there and brought in 1 kg and 1 liter. The other things which are recently being imported and we see huge demand for such products is meat products. We see a lot of lamb and a lot of pork products coming in from Spain, Chile, Australia, New Zealand. And what we see is a huge transformation because we don't have lamb meat in India. We only have goat meat, which is mutton. We don't have high quality pork which comes in because we perceive pork as a very dirty and filthy animal. So I would ask Rakesh Banga to explain how he's been importing these products in the Indian market and who are his clientele, because you know when you tell in the audience that there is pork meat coming in India, people get shocked. Why do we need pork in India? You know, what is the need? Is there a demand for pork in India? Who eats pork in India?
You know, when we talk about the growing market, you know, the market is growing at all levels, be it retail, be it the food service, and the diplomatic community also. You know, everybody coming into India, living into India, wants to experience international products. And one of the major products within the international category is...
Bangaji, mic closer to you. Yeah.
So one of the major consumption item in the international food is the meats, you know, whether you talk about lamb or you talk about pork. These things, you know, we don't have in India. Like pork, we have minuscule production of pork, and whatever is available out there is not farmed pork. It's roaming on the streets and all those things. So the market which is coming up into India, you know, the consumers, they want to experience the sausages, the ham, the salamis, you know, which are made internationally out there. So how do I do that? You know, I'm putting up a factory out there to do all these things, and I don't have the raw material. So unless you allow me to do import of raw material and create a market of, you know, international products into India, which I want to produce in India, you know, like Atlantic salmon, which is something which is originating from Atlantic Ocean, cannot be produced here in India. So I need to import that. turn around that, value add that to the Indian consumer taste buds and create a new market out of there. And India, and ultimately, whether I'm paying duty on that, that's one side, and then I'm increasing the consumerism out there, moving the economy forward. So for these things, I don't know, the food authority, the Indian authorities should have a little more different outlook about that. Things which are not available into India has to be imported into India. And these things, the regulation should be more rational about that.
I agree with that. The other challenge that we face as a community and what we see international companies always talking about is cold chain management in India. We lose almost 40% of our produce in India because not having proper storage facilities at various levels, whether it's at the farmer's level or the village level or a small panchayat level. But also in the international food category, we see a lot of products like chocolates, we see a lot of products like fish, seafood. Basa has now become a category in itself because the import of basa has increased tremendously. People who are not fish eaters, that's one fish which is not fishy. And Indians don't like fishy fish. So, they don't want to have a fish which is smelly or has a flavor of fish. And one of the importers who imports basa, and what are the challenges that he has faced in the past in terms of importing in the cold chain management system that he has?
Yeah. Thanks, Amit. Very, very good afternoon to the panelists and welcome all audience and very good afternoon to you. I'm Sudhanshu Mathur from BMS Enterprises, Delhi. Well, yes, this is a very, very difficult sector. That's frozen food, which I'm in for last 17 years now. In the troubled times, about 5 years, 6 years back, when the world was hit with the recession, we had launched basa fish from Vietnam and introduced that fish to the hotel industry, to the HoReCa, to the modern trade retail at a price and quality which is definitely 1/3 cheaper than the Indian local produce. Over a period of 5 years, this product in our product profile has definitely given us a lot of boost and has transformed our company to grow. Even it is given a lot of help to the industry, which was going through tough times, in not only giving higher prices, but also very, very erratic supplies of Indian local produce. The fish, I mean, was never ever the same the next day. If you want 100 kgs today, you'll never get 100 kgs tomorrow. You'll get maybe less and at much, much higher price. So that definitely has transformed. It has stabilized. People are well dependent on, I would say the chefs are well dependent on the product. Product is very good. As is rightly mentioned by Amit, it's not a very fishy fish. It's a very, very neutral kind of flesh, meat. So the adaptability, even to people who don't eat seafood, has definitely gone up. And, now, last 5 years, we were the ones, there was another company then, and now we have almost 30 more importers importing this product. And yes, it has definitely become a success story in spite of the difficult sector I'm in, that's a cold frozen food. And the cold chain, I'll speak about the cold chain and the logistics later on during the discussion. Yes, but definitely this product has transformed the way the chefs, and the product is more easily available. The acceptability is very good. The prices definitely is very good.
That's one thing that I've seen in the past, that basa fish is such a neutral fish that it can be used with Oriental cuisine, Italian cuisine, Mediterranean cuisine, for that matter, any kind of cuisine, even Indian cuisine. So you can make a basa fish tikka, where when you go to restaurants, and it's the availability and the quality is very consistent. So that has changed the way people use it, and chefs don't like to change their menu very often. So, if you have a product which is available on a consistent basis, which is a major challenge for our HoReCa, that, consistency is a big problem. And same goes for all international products. Recently we've been seeing newspaper articles where we are talking of the fact that there are huge shipments which are getting blocked by food safety. I don't want to, crib about the fact that what is going on with food safety for the simple reason that there are challenges that we face. Sometimes we call them non-tariff barriers. Sometimes we don't even understand what the challenges are because of the ambiguity in the law itself. But as an Italian Trade Commissioner, I would like to ask Dr. Scarpa, what are the non-tariff barriers that he has been facing in terms of Italian products or Mediterranean products or European Union products? And what are the, measures that they are taking to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, talking about the measure, I should say that the answer is on the bilateral and also not only Indo-Italian but Indo-European Union talks that are still there since years and years for a free trade agreement. So until we reach that agreement, we will not have really a substantial reduction also of such a kind of non-tariff barriers. The main issues are there. One, for example, is about the fresh products and the system how sorry, you can the procedures for contrasting the parasites, for example. And in this case, you know that in Europe, not only in Italy and in so many countries in the world, you cannot use the bromure, while the fumigation with bromure in India is recognized as the only 100% safe way of protecting the fresh, for example. I don't understand, we don't still understand why almost all the rest of the world is accepting other way to save these fresh products. In India, still we have to pass through something that, according to us, according to the European Union, to USA and so on, it's something unsafe, the bromure. What about the cheese, for example? And you know that here there's a problem about, again, the not only the definition of what it is cheese, because the definition of cheese in the Indian food product standards and food additives is different from that one of the WTO. Not only this, but also the problem about the rennet, So we can use in the production of the cheese, seasoned cheese, also the rennet, while here is not yet permitted. The meat, processed meat, for us, there is not only one way to ensure the safety and the conservation of the meat. That means you don't need to go only through a thermic treatment, because even a seasoned prosciutto di Parma, seasoned in a sense that for season and season and season stayed there in a fresh, cold, adequate temperature, treated, can ensure more than a thermic treatment sometimes the safety for the final consumers. So again, tell me why all over the world we can export prosciutto di Parma, which has that process of conservation, and we cannot do it here. I want to finish with the last one. It's quite funny because it looks like a Codex Alimentarius from Romanian Empire origins. Your standards for mineral waters pretend that the mineral waters, anyway, the packaging, the bottle, the mineral water, must be transparent. 130 countries in the world can normally import the San Pellegrino. San Pellegrino has a green bottle. Just for this, not for labeling, for etiquette, for the calcium or whatever, just for this cannot be, let's say, easier the import procedures of San Pellegrino in this country. So, which is my aims and the suggestions. I hope that soon, together with your cooperation and also with the trade commissioners and colleagues from the Agricultural Department of the USA and the EU delegations, etc., you have the chance to sit down with the FSF and go ahead with the revival of these norms on these 3 or 4 items.
To give you a brief on the mineral water, I think what has happened is in the beginning when mineral water was being produced in India, it was supposed to be a transparent bottle because if there were any impurities, they would be visible with naked eye. So that concept is still going on. So if you have a colored bottle, you cannot see that impurities. So Indians do not Indians actually, the Indian authorities have not evolved over the years where they believe that a colored bottle can be brought in and you don't have. So that's what I'm saying, the laws are sometimes so arcade that it is very difficult to even challenge those laws. Or for cured meats that you're talking about, we've been curing a lot of our products, whether it is pickles, and if you go to the east of India, they even cure, and in south, they cure fish, they dry fish, and they keep it for that matter. But when it comes to imported cured products, India doesn't recognize cured products as a means of import because they want to have products which have been either cooked thermally or with heat, which again, sometimes is not something that Indian authorities are willing to accept. But as the US Embassy, what are some of the challenges? Because recently there was a huge hue and cry about Washington apples and apples in general where they were not recognizing. And the codex alignment is something that everyone is talking about. We've been hearing food safety talk about the codex alignment for the past 5 years. India has chaired the codex for the last 2 years, but we still don't see any harmonization, any alignment with codex. As an association or as a forum, we've been talking to food safety and requesting them to align codex standards because India doesn't have adequate standards to import. And the other thing is, if you want to make in India anything, you have to have international standards, because at the end of the day, if you want to export to other countries, the international standards are the dire parameters. So it's a bilateral thing. So, Adam, please.
Sure. Yeah, I think before we even go to the codex aspect, I think what we generally, as a U.S. government, do around the world, and what we do here in India is work both bilaterally and in multilateral fora to try to make sure that regulations are risk-based, that they're science-based, that they're targeted either at food safety, risks for human health, animal health, or plant health. And so in our discussions, both private and in public fora, with Indian authorities, it is something that we try to encourage, is this harmonization with Codex, which is the international body that's under the WTO as part of the Three Sisters to help regulate and govern international trade. Individual country laws don't necessarily keep pace with the developments in science, food science, and technology. And there's a lot of science and innovation that goes on in processed food products and even traditional products, commodities, pulses, apples, etc. And the system we have is that the sciences and the companies aren't going to be introducing products that cause damage to their consumer. They're building a market, they're building demand, they want their customers to be happy, healthy, to have a quality product. The discussion on non-tariff barriers, that's another issue that for me is unique a little bit to India. We have a lot of non-tariff barriers around the world, but one of the more unique ones that I've seen in my limited 5 months here is on quality characteristics, how quality characteristics, say on damaged or chipped products, have found their way into a food safety realm, where normally many countries handle them as a commercial dispute, a commercial or contract challenge that would occur. Here they're under the authorities of, here they're under the guidance of the Indian authorities. And so that is a little bit unique, and it's a little bit daunting for American companies, because when they hear about these non-tariff barriers, psychologically or in actuality, it turns them off. It intimidates them. They turn to other markets. Despite India being a 20% growth market for us in U.S. exported agricultural products this last year, it's very challenging to get American companies to come around the world and try to explore the market conditions when these challenges are there. And what we do is we try to push these international guidelines because we think they are science-based or consensus-based among all countries, and it's really where we want to be going.
No, I agree with you, and now I would like to open this panel to discussion, and basically if you have any questions, and if someone can pass on the mics, please. Thank you. And kindly state your name and your company or your agency.
My name is Mariani. As Mr. Scarpa said before, I am his
Can you
colleague
just put the mic up? Yeah,
sorry,
please.
the Italian Trade Commissioner here in Mumbai. So talking about international food, we are not talking only of importing in India, but we are talking even producing in India, as you said before. And your ministry for food processing, your state ministry for food processing, told last week that India's share of transformed food is expected to increase from the 20% of the total food agriculture production today to the 80% possibly of in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, please.
Which is that would be a dramatic improvement on your capability of working in this field, and would have dramatically results even on the food on the market here, and even on your export capabilities. We are much interested because Italy probably is the most important country in the world for food transforming machines. So we follow with the big attention this issue. I suppose that this intention of your government to increase dramatically the production of transformed food and putting on the table an enormous amount of money will mean that a lot of international players will invest in India to produce international food. As this result I expect in a few years, my request is, do you think that your distribution chains, both the distribution from the producer to the transformer and the chain from the transformer to the public will be ready in a few years to, let us say, to serve such a big amount of new production of transformed food? Thank you.
You want to take the question? Now, what he wanted to ask is that do you believe what the government is asking is joint ventures are the way to go. If companies want to come and produce in India, they should set up a plant and they should invest in India. Do we have the infrastructure and the network to disburse that product from the producer to the consumer, and the chain and the whole cold chain management logistic, and what do we think about that? So
I think as we have seen that when McDonald's came into India, they got hold of Cremica to specially develop the products, including the bread and the sauces for them, right? So what I feel is that when new companies come into India, whether it is a cold chain regarding logistics, whether it is the cold chain warehouses, whether it is the distribution companies to the 10 million odd outlets or whatever the point of sale, how do you have to achieve? We take any example, there are n number of distributors and there are a lot of logistic companies already there, and as the demand for the processed food items and the processed food grows up, I think there would be a lot more companies that would be adding, and there would be a big opportunity both in terms of employment and in terms of the smaller players too. And with the GST coming into place, I think the distribution companies will get bigger and bigger and more modernized with better systems, with better mechanisms, with better MIS systems to cater to the needs of the new players who would enter the market in the coming years.
And also to add to that, I would just like to stress on the fact that only 10% of our distribution is organized. Still 90% of it is unorganized. So if you look at a city like Delhi, there are 40 million retail grocery stores who are willing and wanting to transform to make more money. And there are entrepreneurs who are willing to sell those products. So if there is a potential, or if there is a product that wishes to come to the market, we always use traditional format as to have the width in the market, because it is impossible for the modern retail to have the width in terms of distribution. Modern retail can only provide you currently a platform to showcase your products, to launch your products, because they have availability, merchandising, you can do a lot of brand activity in there, which is not possible with traditional retail because of the size of the store, and also sometimes the education level of the store owners. And he is sometimes, traditional in their thoughts also. So if you see the transformation, what we see is 10 years back or 15 years back, the stores used to have shelves, the owners used to sit in the front and the shows used to be behind, and you couldn't touch the product, you couldn't feel the product. And now you go to these even traditional format stores, you see they have made alleys and they've made aisles, and you can touch, feel, see the product, feel the product before buying the product. So that transformation has happened, and over the period of time we see that evolution grow, and it would give us more a spectrum of retailers which have transformed from being a traditional format retailer, and now they are also opening up chains. So smaller retailers have opened up small chains. They have, in a society or in a colony, they'll have 3 stores of theirs, and do group purchases to reduce their cost of burden in infrastructure and other things. You know, anyone else has a question? Please. Can you please speak a little louder?
Yes, I am Dr. Tiwari from Organic India, and I have a question for Mr. Bajoria and Mr. Lohani. While speaking on olive oil, both mentioned two terms, virgin and extra virgin. And while working on the product, I felt that explaining these two terms to consumers is very important because they are directly related with their benefits. But the regulatory authorities, they term both the terms misleading and they do not allow to use them on the label. Any effort on the part of Importers Association to get the situation changed?
Well, I would not like to go in details with what FSSAI has categorized the thing, but I think when they brought, they created, there were only two products which they added in their 367 list, and olive oil is one of them. When they did it, the way they explained olive oil, I think it was a boon in disguise for everybody because they opened the complete olive oil category without leaving any proper categorization of the oil in the olive oil thing. They should have made sure that it's extra virgin, you can use olive oil, pure you can use olive oil, you cannot use olive oil in pomage and all those things, which was overlooked by the authority, and I think they are reworking on it, and they are going to bring a better labeling law for the olive oil thing, because there are few labeling things which are not required for olive oil, because olive oil, extra virgin olive oil is a fruit, and which is actually, the oil is purely crushed from the fruit.
The first press.
Yes,
that's
it's
the
first press.
Extra virgin is the first press.
There are many labeling laws which is not required in that.
I am clear on that, what virgin or extra virgin is and how it is better. Only thing is the regulatory agency is not recognizing these two terms and not allowing them their use on the labels.
That is the major thing, that our regulatory had always seen things on a very broader way. They have never subcategorized things. It's the same thing what I'm saying again and again. They take it in a very broader way, you know. And the food, it cannot be taken in such a broader way. Food changes every 10 miles, 20 miles. A chef can cook the same item, 10 chefs can cook in 10 different styles. And even adding one simple flavor, you change the complete name of the recipe. You try to understand. So, same way food is very broad. But when you do some kind of standardization of the product, it has to be categorized properly. In our system, it has been taken as a very broader way, and which I think the government need to work on it. They need to apply a codex which has 10,000 products, which gives better understanding of the product, because our department, or what you call it, the regulatory department says they don't have that kind of infrastructure to put all the categories in place, and they are not even adopting codex, which is again a biggest dilemma, that they are partner to it and still they are not accepting it.
Basically, we are a signatory to Codex, but what we can do is, if you have any further discussions, what we can do is we can meet in the speakers lounge and we can give you details on the representations as an association, what we presented to the Government of India, as well as the Indian Olive Oil Association, which we work very closely with because some of our members are importing olive oil. Now, I would like to close this session. I would like to thank all the panelists and the audience for being here, and especially Dr. Scarpa, who's flown especially from Delhi, and Adam Branson. And it gives us great hope that international community is supporting us. The embassies are there to support us. And as an association, we want to strive for bringing in better, good quality, high value products, which brings value proposition to the Indian consumer. And that's the whole idea. Thank you so much. Thank you all.